Hey there, toy collector friends and Transformers fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. I am the time traveling toy collector and this is my review of the War for Cybertron trilogy Siege Jetfire. Recently did a poll and this was the one that won the poll for Commander class figure to be reviewed next. So without further ado, let's get down to business. I'm going to start with the box art. Now, anyone that's watched any previous reviews or has followed me on my Instagram channel, Time Traveling Toy Collector, knows already how fascinated, intrigued, enthused, inspired, etc. I tend to get with the box art of Transformers toys. I think it's something that harks back to their very early Generation 1 box art. So I'll take you all the way down the box here. That's going to be probably the easiest way of showing you off Jetfire in this. Just a pause for an observation here. We have Omega Supreme, the Titan class figure from this range, down in the corner there, and I'll have a review for that figure up on the channel very shortly, all being well. So here we have him, Commander class Jetfire in all his Jetfire-y goodness. Now, the G1 figure was not a figure I was ever fortunate enough to possess, and that might be easier if I move that. You can get all the blurb and the other surrounding artwork in there. Yeah, so I never actually possessed Generation 1 Jetfire as a character. Always kind of coveted him, saw him available in shops, etc, but alas, it was just never a figure that came my way. So I got very excited when I started seeing some issues of him on eBay, because I thought, well, I'm gonna make up for what I've not had in my childhood years. But unfortunately, for me, many of those Jetfires are either broken, incomplete, or they have ridiculously exorbitant price tags, which I'm not getting hooked on. Then along came the War for Cybertron range, and this guy fell into my hands. I say fell into my hands. I pre-ordered him from In Demand Toys, and he came. So he sort of was handed into my hands by COVID-friendly postman when he actually landed. So on the side of the box we can see the Ark. Let's see if you can see that, the Ark standing by for blast off, sort of precursor of things to come. And on the back we have what's often referred to as obligatory product shots. So here we have Jetfire in all of his Jetfire-y robot mode goodness, and there's him in his slightly more naked version with the accessories, which we'll have a look at shortly. And there he is in his jet fighter mode, which is, frankly, by my reckoning, very sort of comic, cartoon and screen accurate, and not quite the version we had in Generation 1. But of course, anyone who knows the origins of Generation 1 toys will appreciate that there is a bit of a logic to that. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, by all means check out Transformers The Basics review channel on YouTube, and do a search for the history of the basics on Jetfire or Skyfire, and you'll be able to learn all about that. Similarly, if you want to learn the origins of the toys themselves and their very complicated, well, complicated-ish entry into the market as the Transformers we know and love today, there is also a great video done by Transformers The Basics on that as well. So by all means head on over there and show that channel some love. It's well worth it. I love it. So keeping the box circulating, some more fantastic box art here. I'm trying to avoid glare, but it's very difficult. We can see some more of the key characters, the Ark blasting off this time. I hope that doesn't act as a spoiler. And you can see a range of familiar and less familiar characters filling up the Cybertronian skyline there. So that is the box and the box art for our friendly neighbourhood Air Guardian Jetfire. Let's meet the chap himself. I'm just going to do a straight swap, really, because that's pretty easy. And here he is. here he is in all of his goodness, and he doesn't have much color detailing. Is pulled, some of the red is pulled out on him, as was very much the case in the original G1 model. I've already attached many of his weapon systems here, but we'll go ahead and have a bit of a look at this character. It's a commander class figure, so we already know we're getting quite a lot of bot here, a lot of bot for our buck actually. So Jetfire as a figure, Jetfire as a figure has all the points of articulation that you might expect. Heads on a ball joint that allows all the rotation you could possibly want. You'll see here as well that there's a light port which will support the illumination of his eyes with a back if it's backlit. He has arm and leg rotation and articulation at the knees, the hips, the elbows, and the biceps and the shoulders, as you would expect a figure befitting his price range. I've attached cannons to either side of his arms so that he's fully geared up, ready for any upcoming confrontations, and his quite traditional, I understand, double-barreled weapon here fits very neatly into his hand, with a very nice feature that I'll have a show of in a little bit. Going back up the torso, there's another lovely little hidden feature that I'll show you. Let's just keep looking to camera, because I think actually let's just zoom in a little bit more to the upper body. And again, you can see the detailing here, particularly even in areas that are not going to be seen in vehicle mode. Excellently detailed and crafted. The level of detailing on his body is fantastic. The transparent plastic, this section actually opens up and you can remove what looks to me a bit like a version of the Allspark, but I'm assuming it isn't, because that would make no sense plot-wise. Anyway, the little feature I wanted to show you is here we have the Autobot symbol. You're probably aware that Jetfire or Skyfire in the variety of Transformers lore frequently has allegiance shifts from Decepticon to Autobot, etc, etc. You know the drill. The nice feature here is you can relive that moment, or those moments, because let me just get some purchase. Yeah, there you go. We can rotate the Autobot insignia and turn it into a Decepticon insignia, which is a lovely feature. It only works in this particular iteration of his robot mode, because as you can see, or as you will see, once you apply the chest armor, that will be covered up and you are going to have an Autobot symbol there. But I do like the fact it can be converted to Decepticon. Let's for now stick with his Autobot allegiance, because I think that's right and proper that we do. These weapons ported here are detachable, and there are a range of options. Now I have mixed feelings about doing this, because sometimes I feel like it's an incomplete review if I haven't shown you all the different permutations, but equally I feel that if I show you every single permutation, then there's less for you to experiment with and play with. And one of the things I enjoy is looking at the various different configurations that are outside of the instructions, are outside of what we are directed to do in terms of transformation or in terms of standard presentation. So I'm quite happy to encourage you to go away and find your own variety of permutations. Believe me, you will find several. So here we have Jetfire in all of his glamorous goodness. I'm gonna pull out a little bit further, just because I want to, for context sake, I'm gonna stand him alongside the War for Cybertron trilogy Kingdom Optimus Prime, who I just so happen to have here, just to give you, so I stand him in front of him, that'll give you an indication of scope. So there's that little fella standing there in front, and that's not core class, that is the standard class of Optimus Prime from the War for Cybertron range. But you can see Jetfire towers over him. This is a very large figure. So thanks for that, Optimus. You can clear off. I mentioned the body armor. here it is. It again is in the familiar colours of Jetfire of old, and it will fit directly onto the chest, which I will do in a second. There's another additional feature here. There's a compartment which we can lift up, and inside you have Jetfire's mask, which is clipped neatly into there. We can close this again. The mask will fit directly over Jetfire's face, which again then gives us very reminiscent of Generation 1, and I love it. It's a neat little feature. Again, it's not something they had to do, but I think it really does work, and it really makes the character pop. So there's also some paneling here which we need to pull out, which I shall endeavour to pull out if I can. Failing that, I shall use my trusty very small and very blunt, but necessarily so, scissors, just to give me some purchase there, because sometimes these are wedged in quite hard. We open these up. As you see, there's no compartment behind it. It's purely for the purposes of giving us something that we can attach the body armor to, and it's much quicker and easier if I just do that rather than spend an eternity trying to attach it elsewise. So now let me line this up, and I will be thrilled if I can actually get it to work first time, because that never happens. Oh, and I have, so that's a blessing. And there we have Jetfire with his body armor. Now this body armor section doubles up when he's in jet mode, as I'm sure most of you know, to become a weapons base that will attach to the back section of Jetfire in his jet mode. I'm just going to take his rifle out of his hand here, because there's another extra little feature here which I am particularly enamoured with, and the beauty of it is it's in quite tightly, so you know you're not going to lose it. You lose this one, but not this one, so that's good. Come on, Jeff, let go of it. You don't need it. Dear oh dear. You see, these are the reasons I don't like doing transformations on camera, because I'm mindful I need to be terribly polite to the figures that I want to otherwise swear at and say stop mucking about. So where were we? Yes, I want to focus in on his fist here. So you can see there's a circular section in his hand, which if you open his hand up, not put his hand out, but open his hand up, it disappears inside. So there's a really neat little, so you can have his hand open for other stuff, and as you close it to grip around the gun, that pops out to allow you somewhere to put the gun, which I think is an absolutely wonderful added feature. In addition to that, again, something you're probably aware of, the rifle itself does split in part, so it forms two different guns, when you can put this down so he can hold, if you so wish, one in each hand, so he can be fully kitted out. Additionally, they can attach to his jet mode, and they can attach to the battle mode battle unit that you can put on the back. So there's numerous ways that you can gear up Jetfire ready to take on those pesky Decepticons. And I think it's fantastic. I think there's much more playability with this iteration of the character than perhaps there was with the G1 original. He is, of course, an iconic design and an iconic member of the G1 lineup, but let's be honest, I think this figure ever so slight, for me, this figure trumps that design, because it is a lovely, wonderful hybrid of classic Jetfire, as well as the wonderful engineering of the current range, particularly obviously that we're seeing in the War for Cybertron figures. Is he easy to transform? Overall, yes. There are a couple of sticking points, and I'll probably go over those once I've transformed him, because I'll probably want to rant about them. but it's, for me, it's mainly getting his arms transformed away, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But what I'll do now is leave you with a little look at the body structure. Again, he's a very weighty piece. There's no skimping on this. And you can see the back section. He's got a bit of a backpack, which is fine. A bit of a backpack, which is fine. You can see where we've attached the guns there. There are other storage options. This backpack, not removable. I am a big fan, as you probably know, of the level of detailing that these figures demonstrate. And this figure is no exception. There's a lot of lovely panel detailing here that really, really works and really pulls out the level of robotic detail that is Jetfire's robotic form. Again, you've got some toe articulation there. So they really have. I mean, there's like so you've got all manner of joints and cogs, etc., that really give him the presence that he warrants having for a commander class figure. And my word, does he have a presence when you have him displayed with other Transformers from the same line. So what I'm going to do now, as I said, take a couple of seconds to transform him in video time into his jet mode, and then we'll have a little chat about what he looks like there, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. In the meantime, if you found this to be of any interest and of any use, do please hit that thumbs up button. Maybe you're wondering whether or not to try and add War for Cybertron Siege Jetfire to your collection. I'm hoping that this will help you make a decision. He was, as a commander class figure, a considered purchase. I think now that we have moved on from Siege and are now at the back end of the Kingdom range, I believe he's harder to get hold of, and that's now manifesting itself in his price point. So really it's down to you as to whether or not you're prepared to pay what's being asked for the figure. But playability, displayability and features, for me so far, pretty strong, pretty good. Let's get him into jet mode and then we can take that to the next step. So Jetfire, transform. And there he is, and goodness me, he's so big. That's his wingspan there, and I'll just bring you back in. There's his detachable battle platform at the top, which I'll take that off in a second. But yeah, you can see just the size of this guy. I'm just going to sort of leave this there for a second while I go in and lift him up, so you can hopefully see exactly what we're dealing with the size and scope of this figure. It is gigantic. There's the battle platform. Here's the thrust section around the back. You can put those blast effects in there. It is compatible, but yeah, you can see how hefty, just how hefty this guy is. What a wingspan. There's the cockpit area. The underside is a little more disappointing because you can see tucked in arms, tucked in legs, but you know what? That's very par for the course. That's very par for the course. I'm just going to tilt this slightly up for now. So the battle platform does also have the option to rotate, and you also have the option to not have it at all. So we can technically unplug it and restore these wings here for a little bit of aerodynamic guidance. All of the weapons in the battle platform can then be attached to various different points on the wings, along the back section. But honestly, I wish, if I zoom out, we lose some of the quality of the picture, but I'll move these stands out of the way for now. I really don't think, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, so apologies if the quality dips slightly. But there you are. I mean, that is a very, well, you can see how big it is to my hand. You know, you can see the heft of this figure. It is pretty big indeed. So I'm going to bring you back in slightly so that the quality I hope will reassert itself. There we go. But yeah, as the Autobot Air Guardian, I think it's safe to say this guy is very sturdy, very robust. The undercarriage is retractable, so you can tuck that away inside the figure, so it's not permanently on display. These ports here are to enable you to hang other figures, so he can carry them into battle. You can also extend these ports here, and you can see that if you want to come into focus enough for me to show you. Those ports will drop down. There's one on either side, and that just allows either you can attach some additional weaponry there. Sorry, it's not coming into focus quite how I'd like it to. You can attach additional weapons there, or you can have it that way and attach some figures there. You can then hang from it whilst you're air rescuing them from whatever their circumstances. We can again see here there's more of the blue transparent plastic being used to give additional cockpit effects. The paneling is exceptional. The design is so good. It's so good. I really think they've done an exceptional job with this figure. But then it is a commander class figure, so you're paying for all of the paneling, you're paying for all of the molding, you're paying for the size and the heft and the quality and the transformability and the playability of this figure. There would be no I'd have real issues rather if it didn't have that kind of playability. So downside, there's some really odd gapping that I'm not a fan of in the structure of the figure. You can see that there. You can see through bits. There's some hollow elements, which is a shame. It is a shame, and this is something that later robots have overcome. You can't necessarily tell that there are arms and things tucked away in there, but if you know, you know. And again, it's not the most attractive underside, but then we also would probably moan if he was suddenly a terrible sort of panel former or parts former, where we ended up having to attach a lot of bits just to get the shape, and it isn't true to his actual robot mode. So again, to achieve this, we have to have that. But it is. I love particularly sort of the cockpit area and the backpack. It's so reminiscent of the G1 era. It's so reminiscent of the comics and the cartoon era that I can kind of forgive it an awful lot. I really can. And it's such an iconic and wonderful figure. So again, there's a lot of ports in this figure. There's a lot of opportunities for you to tool him up in different configurations. You can see there's ports all over the place. So I've given you a very basic outline of some of the things you can do with him. There are, of course, more. So I'm just going to bring these cubes back in. They're very handy for holding things when I can't, albeit without the landing carriage now. So I'm just going to manoeuvre along the body a bit more for you here. So you can see the vents that we've got there. You can see the nose cone. The detailing that exists really is good. There's so much there. There's not an element that's wasted in terms of coverage space. The wings, beautifully detailed. The thrusters at the back, beautifully detailed. Again, I mentioned a little earlier some of the issues about getting the arms in. The instructions, detailed whilst they aren't necessarily the most useful. They're not necessarily the clearest instructions, particularly with some of the illustrations that you have to understand with wibbly wobbly arms. And when you come to understand that it means, oh, there's like a double hinge, or it means this or it means that, then okay, you can make that work. But it isn't always clear that that's what they're trying to tell you. So needless to say, that can lead to all sorts of hilarious moments when you're trying to transform your Jetfire. And by hilarious moments, I do most certainly mean lots of swearing, as I'm sure you can appreciate. So, what can I say in summary for Jetfire, War for Cybertron, Earthrise? What I can say is there's a lot of figure here. There's no two ways about it. It's a big one. He is definitely every inch a commander class purchase. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Does he transform well? Yes. Are the joints sturdy and robust? In my experience, yes. Does he have Generation 1 nostalgia built into his genes? Very definitely yes. Is he worth the price point? For me, and again I was lucky because I got him when he was first released, I would say yes. I'm very glad I paid the original price point for him. Am I aware that his price point now would be higher? Of course I am. Is he worth it? That's going to have to be your call. How much is nostalgia worth to anyone? Does he emulate the G1 version? I've said to you already, yes he does. Would he make a fine addition to your Generation 1 or your Transformers in general collection? Undoubtedly he would. He would not let you down as a figure, as a display piece, as a talking point. Remember, this guy is big. Okay, so he will dominate unless you're putting him up against Titans, he will dominate your display. So you might want to bear that in mind. I think that's pretty much all I can tell you about this figure. I've shown you some of the features he has. I'm not going to show you all the different iterations you can have with the weapons. There are some video reviews that already do that, so there's no point retreading their ground, and they do it brilliantly. But also I want you to discover and play and find for yourself the nuances of Jetfire and how you can deploy him and his weapon systems to get maximum play. So all I can say really is that you have been a fantastic audience. Thank you for joining me for the last 25-30 minutes to have a look at War for Cybertron, Siege, Commander class Jetfire. I hope it's proven useful. As I mentioned earlier, do leave a thumbs up if you have found it to be informative and helped you make a decision. Again, I will be reviewing more Cybertron figures such as Siege, Kingdom and Earthrise, so please do subscribe to the channel so that you never miss one of those videos, and why not turn on those notifications so you are aware of when a new video drops, so you never ever miss a trick. You have been, as I mentioned, a fantastic audience. I have been the time-traveling toy collector. This has been Jetfire, and he's so big I can't really get him in without cheating the quality of the video, which I did not want to do, so I'll just cheat it very quickly then and bring it back. Thanks for watching, thanks for sticking with me. I hope to see you again very soon in the next video. Until then, remember, a thing of beauty is a toy forever. Transformers, roll out.